Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going way back to 1971,
Oh, wow.
back when, computers were these massive things. Seriously, they took up like a whole room.
Yeah, like you walk in and it's just this giant machine.
Exactly, not like our laptops and phones today.
Right, right.
But even though the tech was, still in its early stages,
For sure.
we're talking about the birth of something that, well, it changed the world of computers forever. The very first computer virus.
Huh, the first one. That's crazy to think about.
I know, right? And it had this kind of quirky name.
Creepers.
Yeah, Creeper. So to help us, really dig into this, I've got an expert with us today.
Hello, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
All right, so 1971, bell bottoms were in, computers were room-sized, and the internet, as we know it, didn't even exist.
Nope, not yet.
Instead, we had this thing called ARPANET, right?
Exactly. It was this network mainly connecting research institutions and government agencies,
Yeah.
really the foundation for what would become the internet.
Ah, okay.
And this is where our little friend Creeper pops up.
That's right. It's kind of fascinating to think that even back then, with such limited technology compared to what we have now,
Yeah.
you already had people experimenting with, well, I guess you could say the dark side of computing.
It is pretty wild. So let's talk about Creeper itself. What exactly did it do?
Well, unlike the viruses we see today, which can, steal your data or lock up your files and demand ransom,
Right, nasty stuff.
Creeper was actually pretty harmless.
Harmless.
Yeah. Basically, it would just hop from one computer to another on the ARPANET, and when it landed, it would leave this message. I'm the Creeper. Catch me if you can.
Oh, wow. So it was more like a digital graffiti artist than like a thief?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Also, playful little prank.
Playful, huh? So if it was harmless, why is Creeper considered such a big deal? What made it the first virus?
Because it demonstrated, for the first time, that a program could replicate itself and spread across a network without any human intervention.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't about the damage it caused, but the potential for damage.
Exactly. And that's what really spooked people. It was a wake-up call. They realized that if a harmless program could do this, what could a malicious one do?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if you see someone casually walking through an unlocked door, you suddenly start to worry about who else might walk through that door.
Perfect analogy. And that's where the first antivirus program, Reaper, came into play.
Reaper.
Yeah, it was created specifically to hunt down and delete Creeper, kind of like a digital exterminator.
So even though Creeper wasn't dangerous itself, it directly led to the creation of the first anti-malware.
Exactly, and that was a huge turning point. It's fascinating, really, how this one little experiment, this digital game of tag between Creeper and Reaper,
Hmm.
basically laid the groundwork for the entire cybersecurity industry that we have today.
It's crazy how much impact something so seemingly simple had, right?
It is. It is. But back then, things were so different. Programming was way more challenging. Today we have these powerful tools in languages, but in 1971...
Oh, it was all punch cards and, like, assembly language, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And Bob Thomas, the guy who created Creeper, he had to work with extremely limited resources and, well, a very basic understanding of how computer networks even worked.
So building something like Creeper, even though it seems simple to us now,
Yeah.
back then it was some serious genius-level stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And then you've got the guy who created Reaper. He had to figure out how to design a program that could recognize Creeper and then neutralize it.
Wow. I mean, it's almost like looking at the first cave paintings and seeing the very beginnings of art, right?
I like that comparison. And what's really interesting is that the lessons we learned from Creeper are still incredibly relevant today.
Yeah, in what way?
Well, think about it. We're surrounded by technology now, right? Our phones, our computers, smart homes, even our cars are connected to the internet.
Mm.
And with all that connectivity comes vulnerability. Creeper showed us that even seemingly harmless tech can have unintended consequences. And in today's world, where we have things like ransomware, data breaches, and all sorts of sophisticated cyber
The
attacks.
stakes are so much higher.
Exactly. So I guess the question becomes, what is the Creeper of today? What seemingly harmless technology might be laying the groundwork for future problems that we haven't even thought of yet?
It's a really good question. I mean, there's so much happening so fast, it's almost impossible to predict, right?
Yeah, it is tough. But I think it's important to keep Creeper in mind,
Yeah.
to remember that every technological advancement, no matter how beneficial it seems, always has the potential for misuse. And maybe, just maybe, by thinking about that, we can be a little more prepared for whatever challenges the future throws at us.
That's a great point. It's like, even though Creeper was this little harmless program, it forced people to start thinking about security in a whole new way.
Right. And that shift in thinking, that's what ultimately led to the development of all the cybersecurity measures we have today.
Wow. It's amazing how one little experiment from 1971 can still teach us so much about the world we live in today. This has been a fantastic deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And to everyone listening, keep thinking about that question. What's the creeper of today? What seemingly harmless technology might have consequences we haven't even considered yet? It's a question worth pondering. Until next time, stay curious.